All right, everybody. I don't see record up in the corner. Should I? Hartley, should it say recording up in the corner? Ah, there we go. All right, so this is the TIP follow-on meeting from the grants meeting that we had last week. So this will be pretty informal. So I guess what I wanted to accomplish today, and I'm going to put this up in the chat, similar to what I did for the other two follow-ons. But the question is, what projects do we want to go forward with? And then the other question is, what is the process in town? Because this is a little bit different from the other grants. This is the Transportation Improvement Program. And so it goes through MassDOT, and you have to get yourself on a 5-year plan. So what I want to do first is just talk about the projects. And then after we do that, what will the process be in town? This is not going to be one of those where, okay, we have to apply by February 1st or March 1st or April 1st or whatever. This is a much longer process. So everybody should have gotten my ideas list that we put this together after the meeting the other day. So the ideas that we had were the Adams Dam and Trestle, the high school intersection, well, the lights and reconfiguring at the high school and the Proctor Road intersection. I should be more specific. And also considering a pedestrian overpass right there from the high school over to the harbor and maybe access to the rail trail. And the third thing that people brought up at the meeting were lights at the Stairlight crosswalk. So those were the three things. And I guess I want to talk first with the Adams Dam and Trestle, because last night, and if you weren't able to be at the meeting last night, you can see it virtually. We talked about wild and scenic stewardship grants and what can we go forward with Adams Dam there. That was our chosen project. And also, so that would be first. And I want to say that even though I am a selectman, I am not speaking for the selectmen. I'm going to be writing a little abstract on each of these and taking it to the selectmen's meeting on Tuesday night, the 19th, to get buy-in from the select board. So there we have it.
I also have to disclose that I am doing homework for my commissioners also, and that I would bring anything forward to them.
Excellent. And Beth, you're probably the same to the planning board. If she's there, she might be.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm here. What was the question?
You'll be taking what we talk about here back to the planning board as well. And Jen to the Conservation Commission, perhaps. And Emily to Recreation. Mm-hmm. Right. All right. So Roger had sent out a list. I know Emmy got it, and Beth, I think you got it. But Jen, you might not have. He had itemized things. So Roger, could you quickly go over the 6 items that you had on that list?
Sure, absolutely. I believe that I think the gate to prevent further erosion from the cars going down beyond the dam would be high priority. Number 2 I had on there was the guardrail or something similar to prevent any vehicles from going over the banking and the parking area at the top of the parking lot down where the Blue Seal garage is. I've already checked on the price of boulders to put there instead of doing any kind of a guardrail, which might make things more aesthetic to the area, not allow for any diggings and stuff along that area. And then, of course, we would like to rebuild the steps that go down to the water or install some type of erosion control and eliminate those completely over in the pit. And I don't know how this happened, but the way the MBTA blocked off that trestle with chain link fence and Jersey barriers, I think is just not right to go with the area that.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It's an absolute, it's not just an eyesore, but it actually doesn't do anything because
It is completely non-functional.
No, completely non-functional.
I was going to be nice.
If we're doing this and we're going to put Adams Dam in the trestle, and I think, Veronica, we touched on this last night, the actual repair of the trestle itself and the road access for that, for the pedestrian walk-through way, I think that was part of what we talked about putting on with TIP, along with, we were talking about the, where they blocked it off and having that, blend in until we can make it ready for the rail trail extension, or add that to part of the rail trail extension, and then regrade and repair the road that's going into Adams Dam so that that whole area becomes accessible. And I think that's what we talked about last night on these for this grant process versus the wild and scenic grant process.
Correct.
I'm taking notes too, so I'm kind of like, which one goes with which? This is meeting number 3.
Yeah, I had sent an email, and so what you just mentioned were on Roger's list as numbers 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
And so last night, the first 3 that Roger just said, and I asked him to go through the whole list, the first 3 were wild and scenic ideas.
Okay, thank you.
The second 3 were, so 4, 5, and 6, Roger, those were what? Can you read them out just for people that might listen to this later?
Talk to the MBTA about the appearance of what they've done, maybe put up some kind of a new stockade fencing or something, or building, just laying planks along the trestle and putting up guardrails so people make it ready for a rail trail extension at this point. And regrade and repair the road going into Adams Dam, or the parking lot up top needs to be regraded, and also rebuild the dam for water and erosion maintenance. But those are long-term projects.
Well, TIP is a 5-year, right?
There is it's a 5-year plan that rolls every year.
Right.
They take the next year, and what you need is a mass dot number, and you need to, we could work with MRPC. This is kind of part of that process question. We would need to, or we could work with MRPC to find out what we need to do to get on the TIP. I have never put anything on the TIP. Beth, I don't know about you or Roger, but this would be a whole new process.
I have not.
Yeah. And Beth and I only know about it because of going to these MJTC plans. And right now, there is nothing at all on the plan for Townsend for the next 5 or 6 years. There aren't even anything for Townsend in the appendix. The closest that I saw yesterday, when we had an MJTC meeting earlier yesterday afternoon, was I think they're going to put a rotary eventually when you go out Wheeler Road and you hit Route 31 to go into Ashby, they're going to put a rotary there. That's a bad intersection. Anyway, so in any event, that's the closest thing, and that's for Ashby.
So there's nothing, they don't have anything on that bridge that's in West Townsend. Why did I feel like that was on one of the plans already? The bridge that's
not a federally, that is, but that's a state funded project. So there are bridge grants that come through. These are federally funded projects.
Right. Oh, that's the roadmap that we got specific to the federal road. Okay, I got it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the things we need to find out are who owns that land.
Yeah.
Who owns
what land? Which land?
The land going to
okay.
Trestle.
Yeah.
We do.
Go ahead, Roger.
We own both sides, almost down to Worcester Road.
Okay, so we own next to, the only thing that isn't owned is the trestle itself?
Correct, because the trestle and the train tracks belong to the MBTA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that considered, is that location, property locus, or project locus along 119? I mean, I'm not sure that that is. The tip projects have to be along 119.
Or 13.
That is true.
Those are the,
Yeah, so 119, 13, New Fitchburg Road, West Elm Street. There's a, and then there's a couple, the Shirley Road and Warren Road in Timberley. Those are all part of that local, federal, and other federal aid eligible roads.
so the trestle would be in that locus
Well,
or along that?
see, I don't know if it would be.
I don't
Okay,
think it would be.
So that is a question for Brad Harris, and he had said that he would look at something like that for us.
Oh, great. Yep.
If I remember right at that meeting, I have a note on that somewhere here. He said, well, I don't see it at the moment, but anyway, so we could talk to him about the locus for this project.
Yeah, we could meet with him, Ronnie.
Okay. So under process, then, what I think is that Beth and I will make an appointment to talk with Brad.
And if it's not,
Yep.
if it doesn't fall under a couple of those other grants that I was talking about yesterday that may be possibilities for long-term with the Adams Dam area, we may be able to, whatever we discuss on this, if it doesn't work under Brad Harris's, or he might have ideas of other ones that would work for that. We can maybe, so we're not doubling up our work, trying to do this all again in 2 years.
Right.
We may be able to do it that way if it can't be covered under this, because even though the tracks and the trestle belong to the MBTA, I don't know if they would still, Brad would know if they would loop that in because they belong to the MBTA.
Correct.
And it does. And in reality,
I'm not thinking they will. Yeah.
it doesn't connect anymore, but at one time it did cross.
Right.
I'm thinking for the TIP project, though, you probably want to concentrate on the high school area. You want to pick the biggest problem, congestion-wise, car accidents-wise, that kind of thing for the TIP program is just my sense. They're larger projects. Some of them are $1 million projects. So I think,
yeah,
you're right.
They're
so
huge.
I'm not. So I'm thinking, take the most, problematic intersection or exchange in town on those state roads, and focus on that. Would be my thoughts.
That's kind of a twofer, because we talked about Proctor, but that's like we gotta buy in those other towns. We gotta get Groton and Pepperell on board with us.
Yes.
As part of the Proctor. And the other, and it's not on here, but it's something that I thought we had mentioned, because I think we talked about the pedestrian overpass for that same sort of area. But did we not talk about the Mason Road, West Elm Street intersection area? Maybe that was another meeting.
We didn't talk about that one.
Okay, never mind. That must be another thing that I was thinking. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, we talked. It was Proctor, and then that gentleman had said, "What about a pedestrian overpass in that same to make that whole area basically from Proctor Road to Rainbow Daycare?" Reconfigure that for safety levels, right? I think that was the whole. Okay.
That's what I would focus on.
I get it.
Right there. Yeah.
That's what that was. So back to the Adams.
Because these are large scale projects.
So I think that, okay, so you and I, Beth, will talk to Brad about what projects, what we need to do going forward. And we'll focus on the high school and Proctor Road, but we still need the Adams Dam thing looked at. So there was a grant. It might not have been the TIP. Oh, it might be MVP for dam removal. Is it MVP, Beth?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I'll ask Adria, but yeah.
That might be where we want to focus for that. There are action grants that the state has. And that might be where we want to focus for the dam restoration or repair. It's dam removal or restoration is what they do. And then as far as the roadways along, the roadway at Adams on both sides. Roger, do you have ideas on that? Where to look for that for grants? Because that needs done.
I'm on the AmericanRivers.org, and there's probably 20 different places for dams and that sort of thing. A lot of them are under the USDA, which is one of the ones I have paperwork for that already for something. And then U.S. Fish and Wildlife. There is a bunch of stuff under transportation in actuality, but I don't know if they would go underneath this or not.
Okay, so how do we proceed?
Well, I could
Just had a question about Adams Dam as far as the roadway goes. Is that even a roadway? Are we trying to keep people out from driving in there because it's completely destroyed from people driving in there?
Well, that's where the gate comes in.
We need the gate. If we're going to do anything, I'm with Roger 100%. If something has to be done for Adams Dam, it has to be the gate. The gate will get rid of the erosion. It'll get rid of most of the litter because people go down there, and I pick up that trash all the time. And it's alcohol related trash mostly. Wouldn't you agree, Roger?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
People don't want it in their car in case they get pulled over. So they dump all their booze trash, and it's teenagers partying, people blowing donuts down at the end, right where you can go off the cliff. And the same cliff, there's so much wildlife down there. There are otters. There's a snapping turtle that lives at the end. And just to have people driving through there is just wrong. There is a very narrow strip of dirt that is separating the river from a vernal pool, and it's wearing away. It'll be gone in like a year if people keep driving on it.
So what we were thinking yesterday with Wild and Scenic is the gate, the guardrail, and Wild and Scenic, there's a cap of $5,000. So we thought we'd go for that, for the gate, the guardrail, and the rebuilding the steps. It depends on how much we can do.
That sounds great.
But looking at Roger's list that I really like, the gate and the guardrail would be the first two, I think, and then rebuilding the steps if we can do that.
Yeah,
I have photographs of the steps if they're already available.
Roger sent some today. He sent about 12 pictures. I'll forward them to you, Jen. I'll forward Roger's email to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so for the tip, Beth and I will meet with Brad. We'll look at mostly the high school Proctor Road project. Groton is part of MRPC, so they're part of our area for these. Pepperell, though, is part of Lowell Planning Commission.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and it's all three towns combined for Proctor Road. So we'll have to talk to Brad and see how that goes. Meanwhile, we'll keep our eyes out for what we can do for Adams Dam, for the trestle and the actual dam itself, and the roadway, regrading the roadway along the side.
Yeah, we can I can probably get highway involved to help us with that, to grab a loader and some regrind. I think it's going to happen. I think if we do a gate and we do some boulders along that upper edge, get things cleaned up so it's used more and more. The more it's used, the less riprap will have problems with down there.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. I really do.
Okay, so we'll move forward with that for Wild and Scenic. Roger, if you can, for Wild and Scenic, if you can get, wait until after the Board of Selectmen meeting. If this is what we decide to do with Wild and Scenic, we can grab numbers then and write the grant. And then we'll put the dam itself and the trestle on a list for American Rivers or MVP or one of the other grants.
Sounds good.
And just get rolling on it and do as much as we can and keep it going forward until it's done. So
thank you.
So I will write up a little blurb and send it out to everybody. With the decision we made here. And then after the Board of Selectmen meeting next week, we can talk more. But you guys are on the list for the tip, and we might need to add Jim Smith to this.
And like more than likely, I think one of my board members is going to be coming to this consistently, and I'll be popping in because they, as a board member, obviously, handling our direction, so that it's not just always going to come through secondhand. But we're kind of interchangeable. We're pretty close knit. So, so either which way, rep will always have a representative here, making sure that we're, contributing as much as we can.
Okay,
thank you,
Veronica. The grant. I have a question about the grant.
Yeah.
I've run into a few problems with especially with the Veterans Monument, where it was hands off to municipal workers. We either had to let the vendor handle it or get volunteers to finish up the patio and things like that. Is this also a hands-off grant like that? Or can we help install a gate to save a few bucks or whatever? Do we know?
I don't know the answer to that question. In my mind, I was thinking that we would be using Parks and Rec and Highway to do work for the Wild and Scenic and for the shared streets and spaces.
Okay.
So for those, these are lesser dollars, not these huge, great big projects. So that was where I was thinking, but I honestly don't know the question. Beth, do you have any idea?
Not yet. I haven't unpacked the TIP program enough to answer that yet, but we'll ask Brad when we meet him.
Yeah, for TIP, I think for TIP, that's the whole procurement process, all that stuff, which is different from, so for TIP, it's probably that's a different animal, and I know this is the TIP meeting. But I think as far as Adams Dam goes, I can see where your department, Roger, is probably where we're looking for the work that we're going to be doing. That's non-TIP related. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question about the pedestrian overpass? I know I'm kind of skipping elsewhere. Should we be looking at other towns that have them to sort of see what we're kind of, is this an even possibility for across that area? I'm just wondering, before we invest too much into that whole area, like Beth said, this is going to be like a mega project of some kind. Is that something that I'm a firm believer in not reinventing the wheel. So if somebody else has one that we like the look of, or is the same sort of depths and dimensions that we're looking for, something that we should be looking at before we get too far into a discussion on it? Or is that something, again, Brad can help us with?
I think that, and Beth, you can jump in there, but I think that first we should talk to Brad and say, these are the thoughts. What's the process? And then I think it makes sense to go because we, the town, are going to have to fund an engineering study. The TIP requires the town to fund the engineering study. So we have to get that not only on the MassDOT plan, but also if we're going to go forward in the town's budgeting process. So that we have, because it's a much bigger thing than, than the other things that we're talking about. So, but
that's the other question. when they built the high school, did they do a roadway engineering plan for that whole area? Because I know they did for the back where Proctor is, where the driveway is. Did they do?
There was engineering done there, and that's why we have different lane arrangements
Right.
that we used to have. And that was part of the high school project. So I would need to learn more about that.
Yeah, same.
So.
All right. That's it. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. This is all good. All right.
All about the note taking.
Right.
We emailed the property lines to you, Veronica.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You have those lot numbers now in the map. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. So, and this is not tip related, but this is more what we were talking about at the meeting last night. Jen, we're going to need conservation support on this, conservation, because it's riverfront.
It is.
And so we're going to need to, it's going to, even in writing the grant, we're going to need to look and see what we can do up there. So after Tuesday, we'll know more of what.
Okay, good. Yeah, just keep me in the loop, and then I can be prepared to share it with the other commissioners.
Okay. So what Beth and I will do is we'll set up a time to sit and talk with Brad Harris and MRPC and figure out how to do these things. I think if we decide to go forward with this, I would want to touch base with Jim Smith as well. And, it really takes having the town on board to get on the tip. So we'll report back. All right. So I'll write up a little abstract on this and I'll send it out to everybody. And you'll get it. I keep forgetting that Monday is a holiday. So yes, it is. I just keep forgetting. So I will get it to you as soon as I have it. It might be over the weekend, but I wouldn't expect people to be looking at it until maybe Tuesday. But it is what I'll be going forward with this to the selectmen with. So, all right.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All set. Bye-bye.